Welcome back to Reflect Politics. My name is Brendan. Kamala Harris was speaking at Crosse, Wisconsin today when a couple of MAGA protesters decided they were going to try to interrupt her rally. And Kamala Harris reminded us that she is quick as a whip, smart as a tack, and made a complete fool out of not only the protesters, but Donald Trump himself.
And again, we're not going to be gaslighted on this. We remember Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade, and they did as he intended. Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally. No, I think you meant to go to the smaller one down the street. Come on. So, but back to the matter at hand. We need a medic here. We need a medic. Right here, and then let's part the way so someone can come through and bring help. Okay? Okay. All right, we're good. So, on the subject of his intention and what he actually did to undo the protections of Roe v. Wade, let's understand what has happened since. It is now the case that in America, 1 in 3 women live in a state with a Trump abortion ban. Many of these bans have no exception even for rape or incest. And you react that way because we understand the idea that someone who calls themselves a leader would even make no exceptions for a survivor of a violation to their body, and to tell that survivor they have no right to make a decision about what happens to their body next, that's immoral. That's immoral. It's immoral. And I know we all agree, one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree the government should not be telling her what to do. If she chooses, she will talk with her priest. If she chooses, she will talk with her priest or her pastor, her rabbi, her imam, but not the government telling her what to do. And it is my pledge to you that when Congress passes a bill to restore reproductive freedom nationwide, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. Sign it into law. So, lots of work to do. So listen, so much is on the line in this election. You all know that. Again, that's why you're here. And this is not 2016 or 2020. The stakes are even higher because a few months ago, the United States Supreme Court told the former president he is effectively immune no matter what he does in the White House. Now think about that. Think about that. Just imagine Donald Trump with no guardrails. Right? He who has vowed if reelected he will be a dictator on day 1. He who has called for the, quote, termination of the Constitution of the United States of America. And let us be very clear. Someone who suggests we should terminate the Constitution of the United States should never again stand behind the seal of the President of the United States. Never again. Never again. Never again. And then consider the comments that he made just in the last few days, because he's got more. He said he will target and punish those who disagree with him or refuse to bend to his will. He calls these Americans the enemy within, and says that he would use the American military to go after American citizens. Journalists whose stories he doesn't like. Nonpartisan election officials who refuse to cheat by finding a few extra votes for him. Judges who insist on following the law instead of following him. It is for reasons like these that General Mark Milley, the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Donald Trump's top general, has called Trump, and I quote, fascist to the core. And it is clear Donald Trump is increasingly unstable and unhinged, and will stop at nothing to claim unchecked power for himself. He wants to send the military after American citizens. He wants to prevent women from making decisions about their own body. He wants to threaten fundamental freedoms and rights like the freedom to vote, the freedom to be safe from gun violence, to breathe clean air and drink clean water, and the freedom to love who you love openly and with pride. So much is on the line in this election. So much is on the line. And Wisconsin, when it comes down to it, look, we are all here together because we know what is at stake. We are all here together because we love our country. And I do believe it is the highest form of patriotism to then fight for the ideals of our country and fight, Cisco, you said it, to realize the promise of America. The promise of America. So, Election Day is in 19 days, and here in Wisconsin, early voting starts next Tuesday, October 22nd. So now is the time to make your plan to vote. And if you have received your ballot, in the mail, please do not wait. Fill it out and return it today. And remember that Wisconsin has same-day voter registration. Right? So if you are not registered to vote, you can register when you vote, and please do vote early or on Election Day, because the election is, and bring an ID, because the election is here. And listen, I'm telling everybody what you already know and have been doing. We've got to energize, let's mobilize, let's organize. Let's continue in this process also to do what everyone here is doing. Let's build community, you know? Let's build coalitions. Let's remind each other that we are all in this together. Let's remind each other we have so much more in common than what separates us. And let's do all this knowing that our vote is our voice, and your voice is your power. So, Wisconsin, today I then ask you, are you ready to make your voices heard? Do we believe in freedom? Do we believe in opportunity? Do we believe in the promise of America? And are we ready to fight for it? And when we fight, we win. God bless you. God bless the United States of America.
Now, I let that clip run because of how charged up that audience was and how Kamala ended that. I got a little goosebumps there. Now, I've watched Kamala's campaign rallies nearly every day, and while it can get repetitive, she still manages to just electrify these audiences, these crowds, because, like she said there at the end, everybody's kind of in it together. They're charging her up, and she's charging them up. Now, back to the MAGA protesters. Look, this is day 2 of Republicans of MAGA trying to trip up Kamala Harris. Yesterday, she went on to Fox News to talk to Bret Baier, and he spent the first minute just trying to interrupt her when he asked her about immigration.
Pollsters all over the country and here in Pennsylvania that immigration is one of the key issues that they're looking at this election, and specifically the influx of illegal immigrants from more than 150 countries. How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration, because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but
right
do you,
now,
just a number, do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Brett, let's just get to the point. Okay, the point is that we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
So your Homeland Security Secretary said that 85% of apprehensions.
I'm not finished. We have
it's a rough estimate of 6 million people have been released into the country. And let me just finish. I'll get to the question, I promise you.
I was beginning to answer.
And when you came into office, your administration immediately reversed a number of Trump border policies. Most significantly, the policy that required illegal immigrants to be detained through deportation, either in the U.S. or in Mexico. And you switched that policy. They were released from custody awaiting trial. So instead, included in those were a large number of single men, adult men, who went on to commit heinous crimes. So, looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate Remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration?
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath, the first bill that we offered Congress, before we worked on infrastructure, before the Inflation Reduction Act, before the Chips and Science Act, before the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the...
Yes, ma'am. May I finish responding, please? But you have to let me finish,
You
please.
had the White House and the House and the Senate, and they didn't bring up that bill.
I'm in the middle of responding to the point you're raising, and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
We recognized from day one that, to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people. And our focus has been on fixing a problem. And from day one, then, we have done a number of things, including to address our asylum system and put more resources, getting more judges, what we needed to do to tighten up penalties and increase penalties for illegal crossings, what we needed to do to deal with points of entry between border entry points. That's the work we did, and we worked on supporting what was a bipartisan effort, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, to actually strengthen the border.
These Republicans, they know they're desperate. They know that Donald Trump is going to lose. And so they are doing everything they can to try to trip her up. And Kamala reminds us every time that she is the one. She is the candidate who's fit to be the president of the United States. Let me know what you guys thought of the protesters and Kamala's response. Share your reflections down in the comments below. And if you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so that you get my future videos about politics and the election in your inbox. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next one.